Totals, recessives, get Q2, square it, get Q, get P, no P, using these two, 2P squared. There, people like things faster anyway. Dang it. Thanks, I'm sorry. All right, so remember, if you're in Dr. Thomas' section, you got to give me that physical group right here, right? Give me that physical paper. You guys know that he grades your lab stuff, not me. Everybody's like, hey, like, can you like grade my lab stuff? And I was like, I don't grade your lab stuff, guys. So anybody else have these? It seems a little light. Ooh, okay, that's fair. I anticipate you'll be okay. All right, so after we have done Hardy-Weinberg, so we can assume how to make carriers, how to track carriers, things like that. Can we track when these change and what events change them? There's some decent math in here, but it's not the worst thing on the planet. So here we go. One of the biggest changes will be fitness as we know it. Fitness is not how ripped and jacked you are. It is how many offspring your offspring have. Specifically, at the least, it's how many offspring you have. To have offspring, you better be surviving. This is where the idea, again, I'll repeat it, survival of the fittest comes from. It's more like greater fitness of the well-adapted. If you're well-adapted, like on the right, and you're like a happier parrot here, and you like maybe have more access to resources or hide from predators better on the right, you're gonna have more kids because your kids will look like you and they'll pass down that advantage. That's the basic idea. So there is greater fitness on that bird right there. And the obvious way that this happens is adaptation. And I know this isn't, sadly, this isn't an ecology class in evolution. We can't go over all the cool stuff, but anything that enhances how many offspring you have. And remember, survival is a big way to get that done, obviously. You need to be alive to have kids. This is where you see all the cool stuff with life. Here, I'll zoom in a little better. Are you kidding me? Cactuses reducing water loss, thicker stems, right? Fennec fox, oh, nope, not fennec fox. Camel, long eyelashes that treat against sand and like grossness. Fennec foxes, high giant like elephant ears to like exude that coolness and heat. Chameleons, changing colors, obviously a cool advantage. They'd pass that on. They'd have higher fitness. They'd have more kids. Those kids would have more kids. That's the idea behind fitness. Okay, one of my favorite examples. Who's ever seen one of the albino squirrels? Pretty fun, yeah. Why do you think the albino ones last here and less so as we get closer south? No. So what you're also looking at are actually the three phenotypes that exist in our region. Typical gray in the middle, white on the left, and the jet black new phenotype that is showing up and has sort of, there's something happening with the jet black ones. They have a lot more kids than the other two. About 15 years, they're probably gonna be what squirrels look like. Pretty crazy. Pretty cool. We don't really know why yet. So, like we talked about, any sort of selection event is going for that. Now, this could be I'm surviving. This could be I'm having more children than my competitors. So survival isn't half of it. Remember, one of the gross fitness examples is that like some species of the little fruit fly like we used, when they go and like have sex with the female fly, their sperm kills the last sperm that was in there. That's how to ensure you have kids and not whoever was there. Kind of, yeah, nature's weird. Nature's terrible. So considering our little squirrels here, hooray. What if in a perfect world, suddenly winter never ended? Oh, that would be awesome. Thank you. Whew. Yeah. Who remembers Game of Thrones, right? Who do you think I was rooting for? Yeah. I wanted that shit white, black, snow everywhere. The White Walkers, I wanted to win. I wanted true ending like that. It was taken from me. Spoilers. All right. We're gonna look at something. Absolute fitness. This is one of two ways we can calculate fitness. Assuming that each genotype has 100 to start, we look at generation number 2 and how many people have lasted after that selection period. And we can see in absolute winter, the white squirrels have the advantage. They're camouflaged. In absolute winter, it seems like the typical gray squirrel has a major disadvantage for whatever reason. Jet black stays the same at least. So absolute fitness is probably the easier of the two. You simply calculate what is here now divided by what was in the past. So I know these are down here, but you're going to say there's 120 of these white ones now. There were 100. That is an absolute fitness of 1.2, right? There are 60 of these now. There used to be 100. 0.6. And then, not to go crazy, but absolute fitness of the jet black squirrel in this case is just 1 for 1. Stays the line, doesn't increase or decrease. Now, the reason behind this number and making an absolute fitness number is it makes it a lot easier for us to calculate what's going to happen in generation 3. Is that every white squirrel will have about, per every white squirrel, there's going to be about 1.2 white squirrels in the future. Per every gray squirrel, there's going to be about 0.6 gray squirrels in the future. Assuming that this is solid math and that the environment doesn't change. So that's absolute fitness. That's the first way that we can calculate this. And we can see that this is how we can track over time which alleles are going to increase as well. Now, relative fitness is a little different. Relative fitness is all to do, give me that red, there we go. All to do with after you've selected something. The highest relative fitness value can only be 1.0 because relative fitness compares the fitness of the top genotype to everybody else. Top genotype here is the white squirrel in winter, so 120. So for all of these, they are up against the 120 contemporaries that did survive that were white. The relative fitness of the white squirrel is 1.0. It all survived. All of its population survived. Or it's the max that we could get surviving. Only 60 gray squirrels survived compared to the 120 of the white squirrel contemporaries. Perfect. So relative is another good way to kind of see who's ahead of who sometimes. Can ask you for either one. There's different contexts that you would want this in the different numbers, basically. So, given that, absolute is simply future over past. Relative is current over max current. Let's give this a shot. So I live in a kind of on Monks, like on one of the suburbs, and like all my neighbors are lawn neighbors, and they're like, you know, spraying shit all the time. So I planted a prairie garden, and it attracts a lot of like weeds and bugs and other good stuff, and it's beautiful because nature can return. Now people don't like it, and people have sprayed my stuff, and that's upset. I'm gonna have to sick my attack Pomeranian on them. Sorry. So here we go. Here's a little, what is it, a little prairie clover. some of them bloom really early. Some of them bloom at a middle time. Some of them bloom really late. The late one would have an advantage if there was a late freeze and everybody else was dead, right? The early one would have an advantage if the freezes all stop. The middle one is, as you can imagine, the most normal. So given that we have some data right here, what is the relative, what is the absolute fitness of each one? Go ahead and calculate that. Give me what you can do. So if you're finished up, just see if people around you have the same values. Remember, it's not out of 100. It's not out of 100. It's out of the past year for absolute.
Yeah, but it's just yeah, that's power. Year two, so you have that's year two. Oh, I see.
Yeah. Math looking okay as I'm filling it out here. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Oh, sorry. No. Yeah, oops. Jesus, it's terrifying. Give me that. Yeah, it's after. Close call. Okay. So first one for early relative fitness was about what, 1.19. Okay, no protest, no protesta. 194. This is what is pretty good, 1.8, right? That actually is like almost doubling itself over that time. Oh my God, I did it again. Or yeah, no, I totally didn't. Remember, this is the second generation. This is your one each time. Yeah. Perfect, okay. Phew. Okay, then 0.38. Give me that. Yeah, 348. Yeah. It was there. All right. Relative. Who's our most successful candidate? The middle, right? So it's everybody against that middle right now. That means everybody's getting compared to the favorite child right here. Yeah, see, I don't have that problem. You guys are siblings. Oh. I heard somebody else just say, I don't have that problem either. Here you go. All right, so math works out all right on these. Seem like we're all right? Good, yeah.
Could we also just divide the absolute ratios by each other, or would that not work?
The absolute ratios by each other.
So like the 0.19 divided by 1.81, would that give the same result?
The 0.19 dividing by itself. Not 100% on that. I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I would probably just treat them evenly each time. Yep, Maya.
So like if you, I'm not sure how to start this, but like if you had like your, like for example, if you're like the earlies, you said like it would be like, if it was like 5, like 13, and then I went to like 5, like 60, but like the number is bigger, but the like ratio of the absolute is smaller than like the middle, like.
But it would get bigger if it was absolute.
Okay, well, like, or
Yeah.
like whatever, like it is, say like the number is bigger in year 2, but the ratio is smaller. Which one? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
It happened. You're like the meme in The Hangover when Alan's doing the math.
like,
Keep it simple, Maya.
I know.
All right, so you could never have an absolute 1.0 higher if you didn't increase.
I know, like.
You have to increase to get above that 1.0 in the absolute. You have to have more. Yeah.
Okay, well then say it decreased.
I know what you're saying. You were saying it was going to
Really
decrease.
big numbers, but the ratio ended up being smaller just because there was just.
Oh, this is huge. Oh, it's like 31,000 divided, or 32,000 divided by 31,000. Yeah, you're still increasing that just by a little bit. Most species do increase like a little.
I'm not sure that's what I'm asking.
Okay, Corvus, go ahead. Yeah.
If during year 1, you start with a bunch more of one than you do of another, could that affect the relative status for the ratio?
Yeah.
If you're not correcting for offspring. But yeah, that's hence why typically absolute's the best way to carry on over time. Because see how those are all normalized to each other? Yeah. So that's a good point. So yeah, typically absolute is one of our better ones. Relative is a good way to kind of compare across each other in an even space, right? Using relative, you have a top dog and then comparatively how untop the others are. Using absolute though, we can answer number 3. So given now, if I have year 2 is now my data, and I now have absolute fitness values, what do I have to do to get what's going to happen in year 3? Just multiply them, yeah. That's the easy assumed model way. And let me tell you, like, that is a terrible fitness, 0.19. So like, don't be afraid that it's like drastically dying off right here. It totally is. So times 0.194 times 1.81 times 0.348. Give me my zeros in there. And then carry on over. What are those new totals in here? Because this is assuming that weather stays the same. Who has the advantage here? If weather stays the same, it looks like middle bloomers, right? Not too early that they get frozen, early enough that they seed and root, and they kick out the late ones. Too late. So that's how you can use absolute fitness to start guessing in the future, how will this version do versus the others. Okay. We also saw a bit of a phenomena here, right? If you were to take the wholesale percent now of each phenotype, see how I gave you 3 phenotypes here? What does that sound like? Yeah, like a Hardy-Weinberg, right? Looking pretty good. Yeah, see how this is all gonna set up? Nice. Don't worry, we're not gonna do a full one. We don't have time and it's too torturous, but you guys should on your own. Be really good practice stuff to set up on your own. So no whining for practice questions. Besides, you got 100 of them. Now, one thing is strictly happening. See how much we're increasing versus decreasing, right? Let's say, and again, this is sort of a polygenic trait, but we're kind of assuming it's like semi-not here. But let's say this is kind of semi-polygenic. So if we're looking down here, here's population number 1 in blue, right? I'm gonna get this green going right here. Here's population number 1. All the polygenic traits. We have late bloomers, we have earlies, and in fact, this is even a little too spread out for how we start. We start really even, right? What happens to this histogram's shape? So in your notes, draw a histogram like you see right here for original number 1. Now draw it for number 2. What happened to that trait? Who was favored? Is it favored to be early? I'll write them down over here. Yeah. You can kind of see it emerge in the year 2 numbers, right? What's happening here? There was some sort of advantage, right? I would say for year 2, draw your best histogram for what that now looks like, that population. I'm kind of going to run out of room here, but kind of eliminate. So see how I'm drawing in green right here? You sort of eliminate some of those extremes now. You have a lot more in the top. The middles sort of take over. Same thing's gonna happen in year 3. The middle advantage has the highest one. So, etc. Now, yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that. So that's something called stabilizing selection. You go towards the middle. The extremes are bad. You guys laughing at something? Or no? Okay, good. Okay. It was funny, don't worry. All right, so taking a quick thought experiment on this. Given all the disgusting forms of life we've seen, and knowing what you know about absolute fitness, generation 1 versus generation 2, only one generation, which one of these can have the highest possible absolute fitness? So assume that you are starting from got to start from 2 here. You could start from 1 there. You could start from 1 there. You can start from 1 there and 1 there. Who can have the highest fitness possible after one generation? You want to call it that. Sort of a thought question, but it helps you with the math and kind of see where we're going with this. So, 2 animals, they can have what's a super duper breeding animal? I'm trying to think. Let's just start with rabbits, right? Obviously. 8. Let's say we go all the way to 8 in the next generation, right? Cool. Plant people, help me out. How many times can it clone itself and have babies? Or clones at least? Twice, maybe? 2 times? Without us engineering it. Okay, and those can each become new one. Okay, that's actually way higher than I thought, but that's still really good. Okay, so a fungi, like we had in lab, right? 1 just can become 2. That's it. Now that can happen quickly, but in 1 generation, that's going to be tough. Same here with bacteria, right? 1 cell can become 2. You're done for 1 generation. Now we get into why viruses aren't alive. 1 virion goes in, sticks into a cell, takes over the cell, and explodes out millions. See how it's unfair? Sorry, that plant one was good. I was expecting 10 or something. 100 million dollars. Yeah, who's seen Austin Powers? There you go. So 1 generation of absolute fitness is always you got to remember what you're looking at each time, but you can measure viral fitness by the number that they spit out. You can do that. It's a cool thing. So we're not going to do this one. We don't have time. Everybody's getting antsy. But could you apply everything we've learned today, Hardy-Weinberg, fitness, to a tumor cell? You can say no too, right? We have populations, they are genetically diverse. Their generations, they don't mix though. They come from what once was, right? So any survivors of a tumor cell that do quite well, they just have double the offspring immediately, right? So the highest absolute fitness you can have after 1 generation is going to be 2, right? Now that can happen over and over and over again. But I'll leave you with that one. And then when we're done, we'll get to see all kinds of fun genetic diversity and pop stuff next week, including the prairie chicken. Yeah, I don't know. I got lots of examples. All right, so get your little computers out. Hooray. I didn't want to kill as many trees as I already have.
Doctor, I forgot to bring my computer.
Out of luck with the computers. Physical copies, see, when you guys have all your stupid computers, I'm gonna be the one running the world with all my physical copies of documents. I'm gonna print out Wikipedia. Yeah, all like 1 million terabytes of it. And it's actually not as big as we think. All right,